Okay, so while I understand that people think Diddy was a flight risk, I want to talk to you about what his lawyers were saying in their bail package as to why Diddy shouldn't be considered a flight risk and why this bail should be set in an amount that he could afford to make, a $50 million bond, as well as GPS monitoring and house arrest. I'm Eliza Orland's career public defender here in Manhattan for the last 15 years. Okay, so essentially Diddy's homes were raided. His places of residence in Miami and Los Angeles were raided. Search warrants were executed back on March 25th of this year. They were very public and heavy-handed. There were officers and agents with assault rifles trained on the heads and chests of his children. It was, obviously this was a big ordeal. About a week following the searches on April 1st, his lawyer says that counsel took possession of Mr. Combs' U.S. passport. On the same day, he advised the AUSAs of the fact that counsel had Mr. Combs' passport and would not return it to him, so he would not leave the country during the pendency of the investigation. They have maintained his passports throughout. Mr. Combs has stayed in the jurisdiction. He has not left the country despite knowing the investigation was ongoing, despite having a plane at his disposal, and despite not being charged with any crime at that point in time. He also advised the government that if Mr. Combs intended to travel domestically, he would inform the assistant U.S. attorneys. Those promises have been kept. For example, on June 9th, 2024, he was traveling from Miami to Los Angeles to go on a road trip with his children. He provided that information to the prosecutors. Then on June 29th, counsel emailed the prosecutors to say that Mr. Combs was flying to Wyoming via a chartered aircraft. On July 5th, he was traveling back to Los Angeles. 2 days later, on July 7th, when he traveled back to Miami via a chartered aircraft, we again emailed the AUSAs. In addition, when he planned to travel but did not take those trips, we notified the prosecutors of that as well. So all of that, plus a number of other factors that are included, are saying, listen, he may have been a flight risk, but given that, he could have fled. He could have fled the country. He could have fled the jurisdiction. He understood that these investigations were ongoing and that charges were likely to be brought. He didn't go anywhere. So him having a plane, him having money, doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to leave the jurisdiction. I believed that they were going to allow him to remain on GPS monitoring and remain at either his home in New York or his home in Miami and nowhere else, as well as post a $50 million bond. So frankly, I was pretty shocked to see that he is going to be held in jail pre-trial.